Authorization and access to resources is controlled by Google's Identity and Access Management, or IAM, system. You're already using this service to control authorized access. By using the auditing tools available, you can also check for unwanted actions like attempts at unauthorized access. That can tell you where the attacker's interest is focused, so you can add security measures in those areas.
But then we have to move on to identity, because even though we try to have a blameless culture, we really sometimes may not be able to trust the humans and what access they have. So we're going to talk about identity access management, or IAM for short, service accounts, and standards and compliance, because that's when it gets really fun, right? So when it comes to identity access management, we have a policy inheritance in which you can actually define security at the organizational level. You can organize those into folders, which then roll down to projects to individual resources. So you have a lot of granular control. You can say who does what to what resource. And that means they can control individual virtual machines, start and stop them. Maybe they can only start them, they can't stop them. You can get very granular. So what we really recommend is we do have what we call primitive roles, which are basically full access, read, write, view only, and then billing, which are a little oversimplified because they control everything. We definitely suggest that if you can, go ahead and create custom rules that are the least privileged only. Just like you would with your firewall rules, you wouldn't give your accountant access to the ability to start and stop VMs. Perhaps they would only be able to view reports from BigQuery and as a read-only access. So you can get very, very granular when it comes to this. But also consider hierarchy inheritance, because when you're assigning these roles, depending on what level you've assigned them to, somebody down here, you may give them the ability to change some of their roles, but it will not override anything that was created at a higher level. So much like the federal government, they kind of set up their policies and they pass along some leeway to the states and the states to the counties and the cities, etc. But, the federal ones will always trump all of the things that the states may come up with. So now we move into service accounts. So when you're not working with humans, you need to be able to give that same level of authentication to applications. So we recommend that you use service accounts whenever possible. And basically, what's really good is we actually recommend that the humans use the service accounts to do kind of these one-off things. One, for auditing reasons, but also this way, if a user's account is compromised, they still need to have the private JSON key in order to access a particular service account. So in this case here, make sure that you implement key rotation. So in case the service account key is compromised, again, there are stories where people have actually published their service account keys to GitHub, and that quickly got exploited. So you might want to make sure that that gets rotated before something becomes permanently indexed on the internet. So one thing that we just throw out there is you can do GCP security auditing with Forseti. It's an open source tool, so definitely something worth considering. And then we have a feature called Cloud Audit Logging. And this is really cool because now it's going to create these read-only logs that are unchangeable, which will track your admin activity and data access. So you need to identify who did what, where, and when. Now, the free version of our Cloud Audit Logging lasts for 7 days, but you can get up to 30 days if you're paying for the premium. So you may want to do 30 days because you've heard with some companies, some people have been able to compromise and do nefarious things for long periods of time. And 7 days may not be enough activity to go ahead and track that historical compromise. So now we get into external audits and GCP standards and compliance. Now this is where you can pause and take a nap because typically it's not the funnest, but it is a requirement. There are a lot of enterprises that require this, and there are more details here. When it comes to HIPAA compliance and ISO standards, all of them are covered here and updated continuously at this URL.
This module covered security from several perspectives, including identity and access management, data encryption and key management, resource sharing and isolation for compartmentalization, protections against denial of service attacks, network access control, and the automatic protections built into the platform and services. You learned that there are some security that's inherited from the environment, some is configured with default options that you might want to change, and some security features are optional and can be included in your design if it makes sense with your security strategy.